Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you very much for spending one more hour again with me. Remember, this is the day. I'll tell you what that means later on. Hey, Shannon, my great engineer, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous as always because I'm in your presence, Egberto.
Whoa, that makes me feel honored, but I am fabulous because I'm in your presence.
Oh,
what's
you're
happening?
so kind. Oh, well, it's another great Thursday.
Well, you know what? It's a great Thursday, and we are going to make it even better. We are going to make it into a form that folks, you guys are going to love. So how was your week, my dear?
It's been great, and it's great news this morning that Confederate flag's going to come down.
Yes, the flag is coming down, but you know, like I said last week, the flag is coming down. Now what?
True.
So what we have to worry about, folks, is I know everybody's happy that the flag is coming down. Remember that stuff that I spoke about a few weeks ago? The flag is coming down, but guess what? So what? So what? So what? So what? What do we do with the flag being down? You guys are going to have to think about that because it's just a flag. It's just a flag. We know it has meanings, but it's just a flag. But you know, last week we also spoke about that I didn't really want to get into the Greek thing. But because I wasn't quite ready for the Greek thing, so we did the liberal thing and being liberal in the South, being liberal in Texas. But today we're going to do the Greek thing. So folks, please do remember this is KPFT 90.1 FM. The telephone number is a call-in show, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I really want to hear from you all. So remember, after we do the vlog of the week, I really want you to call and talk. I really want you to be a part of the discussion. And here goes my message again to women. Our calls have been dominated by men. Men, I still want you to call. I still want you to fill the lines up. But I also want to hear from women. The body politic will not change until we get more assertion from women, not only back scenes, but here on the radio, staking their position and staking what's right. So please do remember that telephone number is 713-526-5738. You know, folks, the Greek people stepped out on principle. I will be frank. I was into the Greek referendum as if it were a referendum here in the United States. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts or something, but I was watching the television like, are they going to vote no? Then I saw the polls and I saw that the polls said 50-50. How could that happen when it was 20 to just 30% supporting it a few days before? I kind of felt the plutocracy was kind of trying to play some psychological games on people like we do here as well. Try to make folks believe like we do here very well in Texas that it's no point for you to go to the polls. After all, the outcome is going to be what we expect the outcome to be. So nope. I stayed glued to the TV. I stayed glued to those international sites to see what was going to happen. You see, if the Greek had succumbed to the fascist extortion by Germany and the Troika, then it would have been tantamount to distress throughout the world, acquiescing to the worldwide plutocracy. And I know we don't want that. It would have meant that even after massive suffering affected by these policies of the policies of a failed worldwide economic system, the masses were too darn scared to make their demands. But guess what, folks? The Greek did not blink. they did not go for the bluff. They did not allow themselves to cower. They knew it would be difficult, but they said no. Niet. Is niet correct, I hope? Is niet no? Isn't that niet for Russian no? I'm trying to play like I speak Russian or something.
I believe it's Russian.
You think? Okay, good. All right. Niet. Can America learn something from this? Remember what we used to say in 2008? Yes, we can. So let's talk about this. You know what time is going to be coming up now, my friend?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, I wrote this one, I think, I want to say right after the no came is when I did it. And I had a great video on this weekly blog post. So if you go to politicsdoneright.com and click on it, there's a nice video of the exuberance that you could see in the face of the Greeks, that they knew hard times were coming. They knew it was going to be difficult. But you know what they said? They said, you know what? We are no longer going to let these people run us. So the blog of the week, there is much more to the Greek no vote. Here it goes. It's not known what the outcome of the Greek debt debacle is going to be. One, however, must be very proud of the Greek people. The masses stood up against an immoral blackmail by bankers and banker states of the European Union. Paul Krugman said it best. Europe dodged a bullet on Sunday. This is Paul Krugman speaking. Europe dodged a bullet on Sunday, confounding many predictions. Greek voters strongly supported their government's rejection of creditor demands, and even the most ardent supporters of European Union should be breathing a sigh of relief. Of course, that's not the way the creditors would have you see it. Their story, echoed by many in the business press, is that the failure of their attempt to bully Greece into acquiescence was a triumph of irrationality and irresponsibility over sound technocratic advice. But the campaign of bullying, the attempt to terrify Greeks by cutting off bank financing and threatening general chaos, all with the almost open goal of pushing the current leftist government out of office, was a shameful moment in Europe that claims to believe in democratic principles. It would have set a terrible precedent if that campaign had succeeded, even if the creditors were making sense. What's more, they were not. Back to the blog. Bankers lend money. We all know that. They charge interest to profit and to mitigate individual debts within a set that may default. Ultimately, the creditors, the private bankers, must be held responsible for bad investments. Private bankers loan uncontrollably to Greece for high returns. They made a bad bet, and now they want to enslave all Greek citizens with a crippling austerity program. They want to impoverish the Greeks as they extract payments for the bad debts they made. But that is not the end of the story. When the Troika, and the Troika is the European Commission, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, when the Troika bailed out the Greeks a few years ago, it was not the Greeks getting bailed out. This is important for you to realize, folks. Remember, a few years ago, the Troika gave the Greeks a lot of money to bail them out. It wasn't the Greeks getting bailed out. It was the private European bankers that were made whole. In other words, it was a transfer of European public money from the European taxpayer to a private few. Now, the Troika wants to collect the money it stole from the European population back from the Greeks. So you see what's going on here, folks? I know when you watch CNBC and these business channels, those executives who wear those three-piece suits, or I don't think they wear three-piece suits anymore. They probably wear two-piece suits with a nice tie and all that good stuff. Oh, they are the ones who know what's right. And those are responsible Greeks. That's what they're talking about. But we'll get into that a little later. I hope we get into that when more callers call in after we are done with the blog of the week. But anyway, the reality is that absent interest payments, Greece has been running a primary budget surplus or close to it. It's been squeezing its people to try to stay solvent. What Greece needs is what many private companies get. Bankruptcy to restructure. Yes, there will be creditors, in this case deservedly, the Troika, left holding the bag. But think of the excess profits and pilfering bankers have been effecting continuously over time. Think about how often bankers have been bailed out as the masses suffer. Think about all the people with passbook savings account right now that are getting 1% interest. Folks, anybody out there listening in your car, go home, take a look at your little passbook saving. More than likely, you're even making less than 1%. If you're making 1%, you're probably lucky. But you know what? That same bank, the bastion of responsibility, they're getting their loans from the federal government, well, not the federal government, from the treasury for zero interest. Zero, zero, niet, nothing. And they're charging people with credit cards high interest rates. So nothing to feel about. Think about it all. All people with passbook savings account making less than 1% as their monies are loaned out at 12, 15, 26 and higher. If the Troika wants to recover the monies it transferred to private bankers, then tax the private banks going forward. Give Greece a break. Austerity is a proven failure, not only in Greece, but everywhere, including here in the United States, where it has diminished, where it has dampened, where it has messed up our recovery. Our recovery should be way ahead, absent the false austerity imposed on us by a failed Congress. Austerity is a proven failure not only in Greece but everywhere. The practice has been debunked. A 28-year-old university student discovered the economic fraud that was effected by two of its proponents whose papers were used as the austerity Bible by the right wing. Go to the blog again, folks. And I have a link to the two famous economists that were debunked. Their Excel spreadsheet was debunked. These are guys that are respected, right? A 28-year-old kid found their mistake to prove that austerity or using austerity as opposed to lending and increasing debt was a big failure. Let me get away from the blog a bit here. You have to be careful, folks. We have learned in this country to look at CNBC or these guys with suits on and somehow think they merit the respect that we give them, that they merit what they're making. They're no different than you and I. No different than you and I. And the same propensity, proclivity that we have to screw up, they have to the nth degree. And why do I say to the nth degree? Because as opposed to most of us, they're the ones in control of our capital. Don't forget that. We have to remember these things. Not because you see them looking executive-like on TV or in that corporate office means they're worth anything. Make no mistake, the extortion attempted by the Troika and all those pushing austerity measures is to depress people. It is the attempt to overthrow democratically elected left-leaning governments. Their goal is to dismantle the social safety net throughout the industrialized world, further enriching the few. It is about the complete obliteration of a welfare state and the growth of an Randian society. Let me repeat that sentence so it be clear. The purpose, what these folks are attempting to do, has nothing to do with monetary policy. It has nothing to do with policy. Their goal, their aim, their goal is to dismantle the social safety net throughout the industrialized world to further enrich a few. It is about the complete obliteration of a welfare state and the growth of an Randian society. That is what it's all about. This has nothing to do with what's sound economic policy. This is about punitive policies to ensure that we only have a certain kind of government whose sole purpose in life is to live for business under an obscene flavor of capitalism. A no vote to austerity by the Greeks is a powerful statement. They know attempts will be made to have them suffer more. However, capitulation to the Troika and indirectly to the U.S. and the international banking system is not an option. It is not an option. Would set a precedent if we did that. We do not want to set a precedent. It would have set the precedent of the masses enslaved by a few. Again, slavery was over a long time ago. We have a new kind of slavery, folks. You just don't know it. But there is a new kind of slavery, and we're living in it. But it's that kind of a slavery that doesn't have the whips. It doesn't have all the bad things that you think about when you think about slavery. It is a different type of slavery. Folks, the telephone number, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. We have all the lines open, and I would love to hear from you guys and ladies. Give us a call, 713-526-5738. I don't know if you want to do a traffic report while we wait for calls or not, or you want to move on. Is it time for a traffic report right now?
It is.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Egberto. Mixture of clouds and sunshine in the forecast for today. 20% chance of stray shower or thunderstorm. High of 94 degrees. A few clouds tonight. Low of 76. In tomorrow's forecast, partly cloudy in the morning, followed by scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. 40% chance of rain. It is currently 95 degrees and scattered clouds. It feels like 95 out there in the heart of Montrose. And at the moment, there's slow going on 290 Northwest Freeway in both directions from the West Loop to Beltway 8. And on 59 East Tex Freeway inbound at Texas Avenue, a stalled vehicle is affecting the left shoulder and traffic's backed up to Shepherd. On 45 Gulf Freeway inbound at Scott Street, a stalled vehicle is affecting the center lane, and there's heavy traffic from Scott to Allen Parkway in both directions. That's it for the moment. Back to you, Egberto.
Muchísimas gracias, hermana. We have 2 calls that's coming in right now. So, folks, let it keep ringing until Shannon can get to you and put you into the queue. But, yes, I really want to hit this subject hard, but I want to hit it in the direction that it is time for populace. It is time for a populist movement, a peaceful, positive movement where we ensure that all of us accept and know our worth. It is time for us to no longer give in to systems that simply extract out of us. It is time for us to ensure. So let's go to line number 1. Line number 1, you are hot. Who do I have the honor of speaking with?
Hey, Egberto, it's Robert.
Robert, talk to me.
Hey, I just wanted to share in your view that there is a great corruption going on in the description of the problem in Greece.
Thank you.
I spent a lot of time listening to NPR and watching the finance stations on TV about this, and
Right.
They had all these world economists on there, and these guys were just unanimous in their opinion that it is the selfish, greedy people that live in a welfare state that are taking all these social benefits that are causing this problem, and that has to stop. Now, what they fail to mention is that those people that are dependent upon those benefits, that's everything they have.
Absolutely.
And yet these same people never, ever suggest that the people that have a lot of property, they're Greek shipping magnates.
Yes, they are.
They never suggested that those people give everything they have.
Absolutely. It is shameful, but where this all starts from is, and I don't know if you got that, if you got the whole blog of the week where I wanted to go, and George, I'll be coming to you next. And folks, please remember, we still have open lines, 713-526-5738. Give us a call, 713-526-5738. But yes, Robert, as it turns out, right, I went ahead and did a little bit of digging as far as, do they not pay their taxes, etc. And I had written a blog about this a while back. If you were to go under the pretext that the reason the Greeks are in the problems that they're having right now is that they're all running away from paying their taxes. Then you have to debunk the premise in America that says if you have a very low tax rate, somehow the economy is so much bigger that things work so much better. Look, let me tell you. Yes, the Greeks try not to pay taxes, but I don't know of any American business or any wealthy American or any major American here who's not trying to run away from paying these taxes. Likewise, I don't know of any senator who isn't living high on the high income that we afford our congressmen and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know of any government worker or private worker that does not try to maximize on whatever benefits they can get. Is it any different? Do they have such a high standard of living relative to the rest of the world that make them suspect somehow? Absolutely not.
I think your point is that you're trying to say is they're blaming the Greeks for not paying their taxes. So the Greeks, in their opinion, the Greeks are successfully not paying taxes.
Exactly.
Well, the Americans point out that if you didn't have to pay taxes, that money would be reinvested in your economy. And so if the Greeks aren't paying the taxes, obviously they're not investing it into a capitalistic system. They're probably shipping it to the Caymans like they do here.
But that is what's so funny, right? Because we all know, first of all, we all know that taxes as a regulation of an economy in a capitalist society is a must. The aberration that's occurring here in the United States and elsewhere is what's directly responsible for the income inequality, wealth disparity, and you name it, it's responsible for it. The Greeks' problem is what the problem was all over the place. Yes, they took out loans that they couldn't afford, all that good stuff. All of that is true. But guess what? That's the idea behind banks. You loan money, you charge interest because loaning money is a risky business. You don't make a society pay the price of the debt of the few and somehow have to destroy the entire economy for that. Those banks made a bad bet. The reason why the Troika is so in a hurry to stifle the Greek economy is twofold, and I try to specify that two ways, folks, and this is important that you understand it. One, remember, the private banks were already made whole. The payments that were made during the first bailout were not made mostly to the Greek people. It was made to the private banks who were owed money. They were paid. Secondly, line number 2, come on back in. I see that you dropped. Just give us a call back. You'll be here after Robert. The second issue is that the idea that these guys are being as rough as they are is because they want to destroy any remnants of a social safety net, a welfare state. Because that way they maximize yet further again, they maximize for the plutocracy. Anything else you want to add, Robert?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one. We're going to go to take it easy, Robert. We go to James next. James on line 3. James, you're hot.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Talk to me.
Could you answer me a question?
Yes, sir.
Are you the smartest guy in the world?
Not at all. Not even close.
But there are a lot of, majority of people are smart, really, right?
Yes, most people are smart.
Yeah, well, why do you think it's so difficult for people? What's causing people not to get the issues of what's going on around them in life? I mean, it's like the things that you're describing, I can understand, a lot of people understand, but yet and still it keeps going on. It keeps happening.
Let me tell you why. It's not to cut you at all, James, but let me tell you, it has a lot to do with peer pressure. It has a lot to do with the way we segment our society. And I'm coming to you next, Leo. I guess it's Leo. Look, people, the way back in the, I think it was the early 60s, if I recall correctly, there was a guy whose name was Lewis Powell, okay? He realized that universities were making people pretty darn smart. He realized that labor unions were actually making people quite smart. In other words, they realized that they were the second part of the equation. You couldn't have successful business if you didn't have successful workers. Businessmen couldn't make good money if the workers weren't there to make them good money. All those things were true. And people were understanding that they were not going to be slaves of an economy. They were going to be partying about it. So in those days, I don't know if you remember the 60s. I was born in the 60s, but even at 8, 9 years old, I remember all the riots and us coming together to demand from the society what was ours. But Lewis Powell, with the Powell memo that he wrote, had a different plan. And when I say him, I'm talking about a group in general. The idea is Americans are getting too smart. They are getting too smart. So what do we have to do? We must start an indoctrination process. So we get organizations like the Heritage Foundation that put out papers that look like they're correct. We have all these different conservative organizations whose intent is clear. Destroy unions. Change the education process so that people aren't smart enough to realize what's happening. People are smart. I tell you what, when you get a chance, go to egbertowillies.com, my website, and put in a search Powell Manifesto. And you'll see it's there for everybody to see. You know, how they infiltrated not only the news, that's how we got Fox News as the channel of misinformation, and all the main channels. They don't tell you the truth. That's why a lot of people are against Greece right now in the United States, because they figure they don't want to pay their taxes, they don't want to pay their bill, and they live in a welfare state. That's why they owe all that money. They don't know the truth, but we are willing to accept that because we've been programmed to accept these from the institutions. We have the Koch brothers that donate to several universities, and in donating to those universities, there are stipulations as far as what can be taught. We have this good homeschool movement that we're going here, where homeschool textbooks are not really textbooks. We have these types of schools now that they want to call, and I'm going to get in trouble for this one, but what you call those schools that are not the public schools, but they're charter school. They have these charter schools who they provide their education is substandard compared to the worst public education. But somehow we want to have them because, again, it's an indoctrinative process in order for, again, you asked me, are we the smartest people that are listening to this station? No, we're not. But we are the ones that have chosen to open our minds to buck the system, open our minds to look at things in another direction. Hold 1 second. Let me just say, folks, remember this is a call-in show and we still have open lines, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Any ladies out there, women out there that needs a call? I mean, I know you have some women that want to call as well. And guys, you keep calling as well, 713-526-5738. But yes, as I was saying before, James, so what we have to do is this, okay? What they have been successful to do on the right is to make it vogue, one, to be relatively, I hate to use the word stupid on my show, so I won't. They want to make you relatively unintelligent, not because you can't be, but because for you to be would make it a danger for their goals. So they don't want you to know too much. What I try to do, the way I try to reach people that don't agree with me because of their biases as far as what they've heard on Fox News or whatever, is tell them one thing. And you should do the same, I would hope. Listen to what I'm saying and don't take it at face value. Do not take anything I say at face value. Nothing. Please simply give yourself the opportunity to research what was said and make up your mind yourself. Not what I tell you, not what Fox News tell you, not what James tells you. And when we get to that point, James, and that is where we're going, okay? That is why they want to shut down the internet. We have no control over ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, or any one of these stations. We have no control. But on the internet, guess what, James? You are your own media. We are our own media. And once we have community radio, once we have the internet, once we have all these different avenues that we are independently getting information out, and that we can create a social network, a social framework that builds geometrically, and they fear that. That's why net neutrality, they've tried so hard to destroy net neutrality, but so far we are winning. Anything else you want to add, James?
Thank God for the knowledge that you bring forth, and I pray that the seed that you plant bear much fruit.
Well, it's not a seed that I bear. It's a seed that we are going to bear because we are forming a network. Everybody who calls in here, anybody who goes to the sites where we collaborate, we are the ones that are going to change the nation. It's not, that's the one thing that I always try to tell folks. We do things. If there's I doing something or you doing something, we ain't getting anything done. If it's we doing something, we're going to get a hell of a lot done. Thank you.
It takes a spark to start a fire.
There you go, my brother. I appreciate your call, James. You're a good man. Keep on listening. Keep on calling. And remember, do share that we have these types of shows on KPFT. We have several shows like this. We have Think Wing Radio that will be that comes on Mondays at 9 o'clock, covers similar subjects as well. Please remember to follow us, kpft.org and KPFT on Facebook. So guys, have a great one, James. I think Leo is up next. Leo is going to be up next. It looks like our phones are going crazy, but that's great. All right, Leo, you're hot. Come on in.
Hello. I just wanted to add that, in this country in the 50s, we created the largest, most successful middle class in the history of the world.
Yes, sir.
With extremely high tax rates for 93% for people that made over $1 million.
Yes.
Not because they paid that money to the government, but because they didn't pay it, and they used it for research and development to
and reinvest
generate more business, and that meant more jobs at better prices and better salaries and everything else. And and the funny thing is that the higher the highest tax rates are, the less money government has. So all these people who are always screaming that government is too big ought to be in favor of real high tax rates instead of real low ones.
Do you know something, sir? I mean, that is so true. And these are things that people have to speak about. They need to talk about, and they need to tell people. Having a high tax rate is the way the right sells it is somehow high tax rates affect the average American citizen, which is, it's not true. The high tax rate is for those people who are making a ton of money. And let me just say point blank, and anybody wants to refute it can give me a call. Nobody is worth $1 million in salary. Now, I am not going to try to take that away from anybody if somebody wants to give it to you, but nobody is worth that. I am not worth that. You are not worth that. Nobody is in the grand scheme of things, because if we were to try to detect somebody's worth by their income, I always say one thing: put a banker and a farmer on an empty island and see who comes out alive after a month. And if it's a farmer that comes out alive, and we know that the farmer currently makes very little money, somehow that banker doesn't seem to be worth the money that he makes. So these are simple things to determine somebody's worth. In America, we have a distorted worth, and after we've gotten a distorted worth, we've taught you to believe that it's right. It's not right, but we've taught you to believe that. We've indoctrinated you that way. Anything else you want to add, my friend?
Well, not really, except it sounds like you don't believe in the law of supply and demand.
Yes, I do believe in supply and demand. Absolutely. I just believe in control. Look, if you look at the simple math, right? I love math. I'm an engineer by training. Okay. If you look at math, if you have a society where the pie is growing at, let's say, 3%, and you have the wealthy within that society, their wealth is growing at 7%, and the wealth of the rest of the people within that pie are growing at 2%. That means if the pie is growing at a lesser rate than the highest rate by the wealthy's growing, that they are extracting the wealth from the rest of us. That's a mathematical fact. It's not even something one can argue about. Therefore, the only way to mitigate that is to have policies that redistribute. If you don't have policies that redistribute, eventually the system falls on its head. It's a mathematical certainty. And that is what's occurring now. When we talk about income and wealth disparity, there's no magic to what's going on here at all. It's a mathematical fact what's occurring. It's simple mathematics. And that's all I hope people know. And supply and demand, of course.
All I'm saying is that there are very few people that can hit 325 against Major League pitching, and that those that can are worth a lot more money because there apparently is a big demand for that in this country.
Look, let me ask you this. When when the person who built the ball that allowed him to hit that, I don't have a problem in the worth of him being able to bat that amount, getting that money. But remember, the person who created the machines that built the bat that continues going forward doesn't get a piece of the action. The guy who built the ball doesn't get a piece of the action. The people who were the engineers who make who generate the electricity that power the lamps that allows him to make that income, they don't get a piece of the action. What I'm saying is, whereas we've talked about capitalism as being the efficient distribution of resources, we have not implemented it as the efficient distribution of resources, because for all that batter can do, he could not have done it absent the tools that was given to him by others. And what I'm saying is, our society currently does not compensate the others. We compensate the one. So I'm not smart enough to know how to mitigate that, but I just know that it's wrong. And for right now, the way to mitigate that is through our taxation system. That's all. But I do believe supply and demand is, look, that's how can you argue with what is reality? I cannot argue with that, sir.
Well, it would be nice to live in a world where there was social justice, but unfortunately, like I said, the law of supply and demand is kind of like the law of gravity. You can't really legislate it or legislate against it.
We can't legislate it, but we can mitigate it. We cannot legislate it, but we can mitigate the outcomes.
And we do that, with things like minimum wage laws.
There
and
you
all
go.
That.
You just hit it on the money, sir.
I noticed that we had a problem. You said that you were born at a certain time. All during the 70s, the big problem in this country was inflation. But and again, like you said, when you started, don't take my word for it. Vet me on this. Go to your Google. Every year we were raising minimum wage, and every year the prices of goods and services was going up, and people were going, well, that raise in minimum wage didn't do any good because now prices are more. And then about 1981, we stopped doing that, and all of a sudden, within a short period of time, inflation got under control.
And that was all designed, but I'll have to cover that on a different show. But you're correct about that, but that was all designed. Remember, we don't really have a true market. We have a fictitious market that's controlled by a few. But I got to let you go, my dear friend, because
thank you so much, sir.
You have a wonderful day, sir. I think the next person up is William, number 1. William, come on in, my dear friend.
Hey, Roberto.
Yes, sir.
I talked to you, I guess it was maybe 2 months ago.
Yes, sir.
I asked you if you had seen that movie, Kill the Messenger.
And I still haven't seen the movie. Tell me in what context you want to talk about that.
Well, that movie was about Gary Webb, and, he worked for the San Jose Mercury News.
Oh, yes, I know about him. Yes, who found out about the drug deal in San Francisco?
Yes. He exposed what George Bush Sr. did. He formed a private mercenary group of maybe 3,000 or 4,000 players that went over to Colombia and South America and Central America, and they robbed all the cartels they could find of all the cocaine and all the money. And then they were laundering it in South L.A. I was living in L.A. at that time, South L.A.,
And they killed a reporter who actually was reporting that story.
Well, they said he committed suicide, but he shot himself twice in the back of the head, so that's a...
Well, I don't know the
story, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a strange story. I don't know the full story. I never actually did a whole lot of research in it.
The point I want to make to you is, this is what they left out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be nice.
Right.
Okay, so look, you know what was that went right straight to the back pages. You know what was on the front page?
What was?
O.J. Simpson. He dominated 2 years straight. You know what else went to the back page on the same time period?
What was?
The Keating Affair. The Allie North hearings, the Contra hearings, and the Franklin cover-up.
There you go. Go.
Okay, so now my next point is, what do you think them black ops people that weren't on the payroll that had to disappear, what do you think they did?
Tell me.
They formed their own private security companies.
And it's at Blackwater, right?
And they were protecting the businesses and people that were laundering the money and the cocaine. And in the movie, it shows how it went as a network that just boomed to all the black urban areas all over the United States, right?
Right.
Okay, phase 2. What do you think these kinky guys did?
Tell me.
They took over the sex club and porno industry. Those were the people who were messing with me from up top.
Okay, well let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, William. There's a whole lot of stories out there. Some of them conspiracies, some of them provable. I tell you what I do believe. I do believe that anytime these things come about, I make sure to do a hell of a lot of research. Anything quickly you want to add, my friend?
Well, it's just that in the movie you see how they pumped everybody in the media, and they run everything.
Anyway, William, it's a pleasure. Thank you again for calling. Keep listening, and don't forget, don't only listen, but share us on Facebook and everywhere else, and let folks know that we're on.
I don't do that. I'm a prehistoric monster.
Okay, well, my dear prehistoric monster.
I don't even have a cell phone.
Okay, prehistoric.
I've been trying to get your phone number so I could call you. Maybe we can make a video.
Okay, well, let me tell you something, prehistoric monster. You make sure and share that KPFT community radio is doing the right thing, okay? And that we want
I've been a member for 15 years. I send them money every month.
Excellent. You have a good one, my friend, and thank you for being a supporter. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's go to, it's covering, my alert is covering, so.
Lydia.
Lydia, come on in.
Linda, sorry.
Come on in.
Linda.
Linda.
Is that me?
That's
is
you,
that me?
Yeah, it's you, Linda. Come on in.
Oh, it's Linda, yeah. This is Linda from Northern California.
I am happy to hear from Linda in Northern California, and I'm happy to hear from a woman calling. So women out there, listen to Linda and call. Come on in, Linda.
Okay, well, basically, I only had a little blurb, and then the rest was, because when I call, I couldn't listen to the stream. It cut it off.
Oh, so I'm sorry to hear that.
I told Shannon that after I say my little thing, then just let me listen.
Okay.
But the my thing was earlier you had said to do your research. Don't take what you say,
absolutely
as truth, but to do your own research.
Yes.
And I started thinking, if I do a Google search and I search whatever the topic is, you're going to get all kinds of garbage.
True.
And you're going to have to scroll through a lot. And for people who don't know that, like, say, Breitbart.com or whatever it is, or some of these other sites aren't really the best sites to be getting their research from, it would be helpful if there was, like,
I know where you're going, Linda. I know where you're going. Let me kind of tell you a quick answer. What I've always said, right, is that, and before, let me just tell folks, 713-526-5738. We still have open lines, 713-526-5738. Give us a call. Anyway, Linda, here's the deal. What I've told people, and I've told them a lot on the internet as well, and in the process garnered a pretty healthy following, is that you get your spheres of trust. In other words, that is the nice thing about social networking and crowdsourcing. You can get your spheres of trust. And yes, they're going to come up with Breitbart or whatever. But since I am trying to develop our spheres of trust, our KPFT sphere of trust, people will know that, well, a good starter is here at KPFT, at politicsdoneright.com, etc. Now, you're going to do your own research, and you're going to come back in this community and put things out that you found. And when you found things, we will say, no, Breitbart's a crazy site. You don't want to do that or whatever. And you will then build your sphere of influence, and other people will then be following not Politics Done Right, but Linda and Linda's sphere. So we have all these commingling spheres that work together, and it works. The thing about it is that we have to have faith within ourselves to do it. And that's what we need to do. And so right now, you are a new sphere of influence for KPFT, for Politics Done Right. You need to extend that sphere for the people who already trust Linda, which will overlap a lot of other people. So that's what we're trying to build here. That's what we're trying to build. So do you follow?
Yeah, I have my Facebook, and I have a lot of friends from different viewpoints, let's say.
And that's good.
And Some of them get real tired.
Yes,
of
yes.
hearing Linda going on and on, but I look at it as it's my page.
And not only that, Linda, I'll put even better than that. It's not only your page, but I look at it as your civic duty. You see what I'm saying? I actually, the title of my page, egbertowillies.com, says political involvement should be a requirement for citizenship. I say that tongue in cheek, but I really mean that deep down. I think we all need to be involved, and one of the reasons that things are the way they are is that enough of us are not involved. But Linda, I got to go to Brian. So if you have anything else to say before I let you go?
Just don't cut me off so I can keep on listening.
Okay, put her on hold and let's go. Oh, okay, yeah, great. And let's go to Brian. Hello, Brian. How are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Talk to me, my dear friend.
Okay. First off, you're not from the United States, right? But why do you keep continually saying we are trained and taught this way to believe?
Tell me what you mean by I'm a red-blooded American citizen. Not born here, but a red-blooded American citizen.
Born here?
I wasn't born here, but I'm a red-blooded American citizen.
Okay, so you went through the immigration process.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. You want to talk about how much of a genius Ronald Reagan was when it came to economic policy?
Are you? Please tell me that you're kidding.
Would I be calling to joke?
Okay, tell me how much of a genius he was. I'm interested. And Tracy, I'm coming to you next. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, he was elected, 1980, correct?
Yes, sir.
And no one has been able to change the policies that he set forth since then?
Oh, you are such a smart young man. And let me tell you something, Brian. Brian, let me tell you, you're right. How am I going to argue with that statement that you're making? You're right. I mean, the way it was instituted and we are yet not able to mitigate trickle-down economics, the guy's policy affected by even his people who completely are against it now, you're right. That's why you have folks like me trying to say, guys, let's wake up, because the entire thing, if you listened earlier to when I was speaking to James and I spoke about the Powell Manifesto and how these things come about, it's a continuum. What Reagan was a continuum of what started with the Powell Manifesto. And all of that came into pass because of how we have re-educated the American population.
There you go again. The re-education or the brainwashing of someone that has been here for quite a while. Okay, who initiated NAFTA?
Who initiated NAFTA was Clinton.
No, it was.
Oh,
Bush.
wait a minute. I mean, he passed NAFTA, but the president before.
Exactly.
Yes. Right.
Bush initiated it.
Yeah.
Now, is this a bad policy or is this a good policy?
It's a terrible policy.
For the future of America.
Terrible policy.
Now, what policy has Obama just initiated and passed?
TPP, and we've been completely against that as well.
Even worse.
It's worse. You're correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one question, because I don't know if you're tongue-in-cheek, where you're tongue-in-cheek or where you're real. What is it that what you really want to say? Because I got to run to a couple other calls.
Okay, you say that the person that makes the baseball doesn't get a piece of the pie?
Right.
What's his alternative?
I tell you
Welfare?
what. Let me tell you what his alternative. He should get a piece of the action. I don't know how. Maybe it's through taxation. Maybe it's through some other method. But we've been trying to plan this. But here's what I'm trying to tell you, and it's a simple proposition. The current system is flawed, as I think you are well aware of. Correct?
No, I like the current situation.
Well,
I mean, would you oppose? I mean, you have a 90% income tax on the wealthy during the Roosevelt administration. What was the total unemployment rate for his entire administration? And he had a 90% tax on the rich.
I'm not. Let me just say one thing, because I don't want to just let you go because you may think that I'm letting you go because I disagree with you, which isn't the case. So let me just answer that really rather quickly. Under Roosevelt, and by the way, I wrote a paper on the dip and how the economy flowed based on the results on of the different policies that Roosevelt did. And here is the reality, and then I'm going to let you go. The reality is Roosevelt's policies were not as unsuccessful as people would have you believe.
Oh, no, I can make my own decisions on what I believe, not what I am told to believe.
Again,
there's the difference.
Again, here,
okay,
no, sir, that's not absolute. That's an absolute fallacy, and the reason why it's an absolute fallacy for one specific reason, my friend. Even myself, I can tell you that at some point I would have been indoctrinated. Okay, that's a fact. And that's just how education runs. But I need to get to these other callers. I tell you what, though, you keep listening to the shows because you are somebody that I would like to entertain in a longer conversation if you had called earlier. So I'm going to let you go, but we're going to have this again. Come back next week and let's have this out. Okay, we got to go to a quick break. Go ahead for the quick traffic break, and then we'll come back.
Why, thank you, Egberto. Okay. Currently, it is a mixture of clouds and sunshine in the forecast. 20% chance of rain, stray showers or rain in the forecast through Friday night. High today of 94 degrees, low 77. It is currently 95 degrees and partly cloudy skies here in the heart of Montrose. It feels like 104 out there. Galveston is 91 degrees and clear skies. Huntsville, 93 and clear skies as well. And Goodridge, partly cloudy, 92 degrees. And there's 2 accidents that were just cleared up on 59 Southwest Freeway inbound at the West Loop. That accident was cleared from the exit ramp, and traffic is slowly releasing from that area. All right, and traffic backed up on I-10 Gulf Freeway inbound from Telephone Road to Allen Parkway due to an accident at Scott Street that was cleared from 2 center lanes. Heavy traffic from Scott to Allen Parkway in both directions, and slow going on the West Loop inbound northbound from Fornes to Irvington. That's it for your traffic break. Back to you, Egberto.
Muchísimas gracias, mi hermana. But I'm going to Tracy next, but before I just want to qualify something, and this is very important because this is what happens to a lot of people who were not born here, a lot of people that are immigrants, and this is very important. I want to tell my immigrant brothers and sisters, listen to this. Never allow yourself to feel like less for not having been born here and going through what you've gone through to immigrate here and know the policies of this country. Never, ever do that. You went through the policies. You're full-fledged Americans. The only people that have the right ever to tell you anything about your immigration status are the native people of this land, the native Indians. Otherwise, we are all immigrants, and I mean that. Never allow yourselves to be diminished by anyone questioning your Americanism. And with that, let's go to Tracy. Tracy, you're on. Tracy?
Hello?
Yes, you're on, Tracy.
Egberto?
Yes, it's Egberto.
Hi, I just wanted to call in and represent the females listening to your show.
Thank you.
I was trying to fulfill your request.
Look, Tracy, I appreciate that very much. Is there anything you want to add to that other than being of the female persuasion? I hope you're enjoying the show.
Absolutely. Every week, I can't wait for Thursday to hear your perspective, and I always have a smile when I hear you talking. I do want to interject, kind of to follow up with the last caller. I was actually calling for the opposite response to what he was saying. In terms of wealth and equality, I thought that your beautiful description with the baseball was brilliant. And I feel like we need to have much more dialogue with public media and all kinds of media when it comes to wealth and equality. And I think you did it brilliant. So I'm on the opposite side of the last caller.
Look, I appreciate that very much, Tracy. And please do remember this. Just like I told Linda earlier, you have your sphere of influence. So please be a part of the game, be a part of the discussion, because your voice is important. And what we've had in this country is too many people trying to silence people's voice and not accepting the worth that we really all have. So thank you for calling, Tracy. And you have a wonderful day and keep listening. Thank you, and you have a wonderful day.
You.
Johnny, come on in, Johnny.
Hey.
Talk to me.
You stole part of my thunder there. That's right. Only the Native Americans can tell you anything. Anybody else can't say a damn thing because they're supposed to be, according to our version of America, a land of immigrants.
Absolutely, sir. That is one of the things that a lot of people would do, when he qualifies. Let me tell you, I worked hard at being an American. I worked hard at being a part of this society and living the dream. And look, this is a great country. And I feel a responsibility to be a part of this country and do what's right. Just like all of us feel that responsibility to do what's right. So, that didn't bother me, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't bother others, because what happens is a lot of times discussions get shut down when people are made to feel like they are the other, so they don't then engage. And my thing is, everybody that's have their legs here in America, you must engage. Anything else, Johnny, you want to say real quickly? Because I got 2 more lines to answer.
I wanted to say about Ronald Reagan. The
Real
only
quick.
reason why conservative policies stay in such force in this country over the long haul is for the same reason why people like Scott Walker stay in the governorship. It's not because they're good governance. It's because they cheat, lie, and steal, and they've got big industrial money behind them. And unless you get a whole bunch of people to outnumber that at the same time over and over again, you're going to wind up getting your skull knocked in like the cops did to the Occupy.
Thank you very much, Johnny. I need to
one more thing.
Real quick.
I hope that when you worked hard as an American, you didn't do 3 jobs. That was fantastic, according to George Bush telling that lady back when he was running for president.
I know, but
I'll never forget what he said.
Thank you, buddy.
Fantastic.
Johnny, got to go.
Not that kind of hard.
Thank you, my brother. You have a good one.
Not hard.
Thank you, sir. You keep listening. Let's go to
Come
Ben.
to that office.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, Ben, come on in.
Hey, the caller a couple calls ago wanting to bring in Roosevelt and the taxation 90%.
Right.
The tax rate was never 90%. It's progressive, and that would be like any additional dollar over $3 million would have been taxed at the back.
Sir,
and of course, people always try to throw that out there, and it's anyway.
It's crazy. You got that right, so I appreciate you calling that, though. I need to jump to another call. I'm trying to close out these lines before. So you have a great day, my friend.
Doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Tony, come on in real quick. Tori, come on in real quickly. Give me 20 seconds.
The Ayn Rand, Ronald Reagan thing didn't start anytime in this century. It happened even before our Constitution. The Founding Fathers were trying to get the farmers, a corn-based economy, to pay for the war with Britain.
Right.
And it led to some Shays Rebellion, that kind of stuff. And so it's always been about putting the tax burden on to the working-class people and letting the rich run free. That's nothing new.
Tony, you're correct. When I brought up the Powell manifestos, just in this century, we can kind of attest to that after all the progress that's been made. But thank you very much for bringing that up, Tony. Cheers. You are so right. Tori, you have a wonderful day, Tori. And let's go to the last caller of the day.
She was just listening.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, it seems like she was just listening. So, folks, we are coming close to the end of the show, and I really appreciate the calls that I received today because you made the difference in the show, and we get a chance to see the different points of view that people have too. There was the one person that called that was concerned about how successful the Reagan's trickle-down economics has been and the staying power that it has had. He is absolutely correct, but it only stayed into effect because we as people have never gotten the courage to do 2 things. To one, specifically educate ourselves outside of the realm of what's been told to us, and that I mean that on all our parts. We hadn't done that. And secondly, because none of us here have really identified our worth. I wrote a piece called Identify Your Worth and Know Your Worth. When we as people really know our worth, we'll know that those executives we watch on CNBC and all these places are not the end all. The end all are we, the American population. So with that, Politics Done Right will be going out till next Thursday. And with that, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Politics Done Right at egbertowillies.com and politicsdoneright.com on Facebook. Politics Done Right. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.